to be or not to be.
Gwenaël,
Well,
what are you doing?
well, this is a performance stream, so I'm performing.
It's not that kind of performance. It's a performance update on Stellaris. Jazz hands. So, welcome everyone. I'm AC, the new community manager on Stellaris, and by my side I have...
Gwenaël, I'm the tech lead on Stellaris.
I have a beautiful quote from the dev diary that we published earlier today. Stellaris fans are C++ programmers, or like them. Performance is always on their mind, as well as ours. Since we can admit performance hasn't been optimal lately, especially in the late end game.
Yeah, performance, it's always an uphill battle.
Yeah.
But yeah, people have been at least very vocal about it lately.
Yes, so finally we have been putting some hard work, and today we will showcase some of the improvements. Meanwhile we're loading, can you tell me about some of the challenges with improving the state of the game?
Well, the challenge is that basically when we add feature, it adds stress to the system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it touches a bit of everything. If you're very careful, you touch only a few things, but if you're a bit in a rush, you're going to touch many more things, as I said in the dev diary.
Mm.
And that will create many issues. It's a lot of code and a lot of dependencies. Our save has loaded, so I noticed that this is the save we used in the video from the dev diary, right?
Amazing.
But we were in observer mode in the dev diary, so for example, people didn't see that the main Empire had 11,000 pops.
Mm-hmm, that's massive. When we were touching on the subject of pops, I know that pops has a pretty big influence on performance in this game.
Absolutely, mainly because there's so many of them. They're carrying a lot of the game on their shoulders. So the pops have to do a lot of things, mainly...
Receiving transmission.
They have to check how good they are at the various jobs, and then they will be distributed in the jobs. It used to be that we would do that distribution every day just to make sure if anything in the galaxy gives you a job, then it will be taken.
Yeah.
And I've been a bit hard-headed about it. I know a lot of people said, why is it being done every day? We could just do it when it's needed. But the problem is that it's really hard to know when it's actually needed.
All right.
Because you could have an event on a stone at the other side of the galaxy that for some reason adds one job to your capital, and then it's not being filled immediately. And I felt we would lose some of the immediacy of the gameplay, and players wouldn't understand why their jobs are not being filled immediately. But the truth is 90% of the cases where the jobs actually change, we know what they are, right? They are when you build something. They are when you receive new pops, either because the pop have grown or you have refugees or something like that. And just adding removing the daily check and adding the checks into cases that we know exist.
So you only do these checks when it's demanded, in other words?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that saved a lot of performance, but we've also rewritten the way we are distributing job so that it's sleeker, better, do less useless things.
We can maybe talk about ship improvements, new reinforcement systems, potentially?
Yes. So one thing is that we noticed we were spending a lot of time looking for ships that were reinforcing fleets. Ships that were reinforcing fleets, they were trying to find their way, and we were spending a lot of time in that. But also it was very frustrating for players because your ships would be very stupid and take the shortest way to the fleet without caring about whether there is something in the way that could kill them.
Yeah.
So we've changed the way reinforcement works.
All right, in what way? I'm so curious. I want to know everything.
I am still trying to change. So now the ships that are moving toward the fleet to reinforce it are gonna go missing in action until they reach that fleet. The time they will be missing in action is going to be the same as when they were moving, but they will be out of the game.
Okay, so it will be like improving performance because they don't have to process that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But we have also make sure that if the fleet being reinforced has no way to reach the ship, or the ship doesn't have a way to reach the fleet, then the reinforcement doesn't happen. So you can still cut off the fleet from a reinforcement and preventing them from being reinforced.
Okay, that's super cool.
We're not losing that strategic aspect.
Speaking of both when it comes to reinforcements of ships and pops, do you have anything to say about triggers? Any changes in that aspect?
Sorry,
it's okay.
Yes, so we had many triggers.
And what is a trigger for those who don't know?
Well, first, a trigger is like a yes or no question.
It's like a Boolean.
Yes, exactly like a Boolean.
Programming skills, okay.
Exactly, it is a Boolean.
Yeah.
And then you can combine them to make the question more and more complicated, but at the end you only get yes or no.
Okay.
And we generally use that, for example, for the pops, to see if they can take a job or not, and things like that. And then we have a system where we want to know how good a pop is going to be at the job. So we have a base value. Let's say we're rating them from 0 to 100.
Okay, cool.
By default, pops have a value of, let's say, 20. And then we have a bunch of questions like, is this pop a slave? Yes, no. If yes, add 15, and things like that.
Yeah.
So for the pops, we have a lot of those triggers. And many of those triggers would actually check every other pops in the Empire.
Oh, really? Okay.
To see if one of them was a slave or if one of them was decadent. So we've changed those triggers to, instead of asking every other pop, only they would check like the species, is at least one pop of this species a slave, at least one pop of this species decadent. And in many cases, like decadent, for example, it's a species trait. So if the species is decadent, you're pretty sure that the pops are decadent.
Yeah.
We saved a lot of time like that. And we had the same kind of situations for fleets, where we didn't have triggers specifically for fleet. We had triggers for ships. So we had many cases where, to find a specific fleet, we would ask all the ships, but if your fleet have hundreds of ships, you're asking the same fleet 100 of times if it is fleet number 27.
Yeah.
So that's another place where we made some improvements.
Super fantastic on Twitch. Will performances increase across all systems or only curated, cherry-picked by your systems?
The performance increase is for all systems. It's not going to be as good as what we saw in the video for every system. I'm not gonna lie. We have seen some kind of improvement on every systems we've used. If you go to the dev diary, I explained that we have machines that play the game every night, and not all those machines are supercomputers. But I'm not saying you're going to see like 3 times improvement for every machine and in any situations. Yeah. The situations where you will be making the most of the improvements is when you have a lot of pops.
Yeah.
Mainly because like this save, which is a community save, I don't remember exactly where we got it, but I think it came from the forums. Yeah. Is the save that we used to check the performance improvement.
Cool. All right. Is this kind of performance work done by a specific team? And if so, is that team on the job constantly, or does that come and go in cycles?
As I say in the dev diary, C++ programmers are like Stellaris fans. Yeah. Performance is always on their minds, and everyone always wants to work on performance. But we have to be realistic, and we have to also like deliver features. So we try to switch around who works on what in the team, and like everyone can get their chance at working on performance. And as the tech lead, I'm generally not on specific features because I'm fighting a lot of fires, and putting features on hold because I have to fight a fire hurts me deeply, and I have done that several times in the past. So
I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah.
so I try to avoid that, and I give help where I can, which is sometimes on performance, sometimes on looking for out of sync.
Yeah.
For multiplayer, things like that.
Cool. So, in other words, you take like turns sitting and improving stuff. Do the AI still modify their species to all different planets, making like a 20 different subspecies, often with only one pop? This must limit performance, question mark.
So, I don't think that having many different species change anything in performance related to pop jobs or whatever, because we are doing that at the pop level anyway. For the other question, I am not sure because I haven't worked on the AI in a long time.
Yeah, but AI is a thing that will be continued.
Yes, absolutely. As in, we're going to talk about it in a future stream or dev diary or something.
We have a question here. Is the 2.6 patch backward compatible with old saves?
The same answer as every time we ask that question. Maybe. Well,
we don't want to guarantee anything.
Yeah. In theory, it should work. We are always trying our best, but we cannot guarantee it. So I've loaded an old multiplayer map that you might recognize here. And that's from 3 versions ago, right? So it should work, but I cannot guarantee that everything in it is going to be in tip-top shape.
Understandable,
if you do it.
Here we got another question. Any performance improvements to multiplayer, less desyncs? Hopefully, I guess.
Yes, we're always working on these things. We know it's a weakness. We're doing our best, but we can't, like, we've fixed several in the last couple of weeks. We're not sure how it stacks right now because we haven't had like a big enough test pool to make sure. We're always trying our best to eradicate every out of things that we can.
Can we summarize the performance updates? So there have been improvements with pops. We have made, how to say, you are better on the technical side of this than I am.
We have reduced the amount of work we do to distribute jobs to pops. And we do it a lot less often. We also have reduced like how many times pops ask every other pops some yes/no questions. We have made a new system for reinforcement that should improve performance. We have improved somewhat the threading of the game. And I'm forgetting something, but yes, we're doing our best to curb the out of syncs.
Yeah, thank you guys for watching. I think this was everything for this time.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, Gwenelle, for joining with
your
expertise.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. But thanks a lot, and we see you next week.